Okay, we're back. Part 2 of knee replacement duckling. Won't be hard to keep from mixing that up with anything else, will it? Oh, let's see. Let me erase this. This is your tracing that you don't have yet, that you will have by the time you see this. Whoops. Okay, flying tracing. Okay. So what we're going to do now is, look, my color's been sitting. See how red it looks? Because again, these colors separate and the red is floated to the top. So all we got to do is reconstitute that just a bit. And then let's do the eye. Let's start the eye. Let's take a little bit of the yellow, a little bit of red, mix them over here in with the yellow. So this is going to get us our beginning dark in the eye. And you're just going to paint this in. By the way, I did not pay enough attention at the beginning of my duckling, my original duckling. And it seems that he has a visible eyelid. I kind of suggested it on the other one. But on this one, you've got an actual line that is his eyelid. Well, actually, it's not drawn in there well enough. Goes here and goes on over. Right there. And I don't think it hurts to have it just showing with the pencil. The pencil line might be about all that we do of it. Now, we're going to start the bill. And I think the bill is best if it maybe starts out a little bit bluish on top. So, oh, looky here. I've got an area that's got a little more blue in it. I'll just pick some of that up. Let's see what this looks like. So we're on dry paper for the eye and the beak. Beak, bill. I think bill sounds better than beak, don't you? Beak sounds so unfriendly. You see me making a lot of strokes here? It's not because I'm using a lot of strokes to pressure it in. It's just that I'm being very careful about my edges here because I don't want to mess up the shape. Well, tell you what, as we come down on this bill a little bit, let's just go back to our regular gray. And you know, you can do it this way or not. It's not going to be a big deal. It's going to look funny for a while no matter what you do. Oh my goodness, well what is that? Well, next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to wash my brush out and give it a little squeeze there. And I'm going to try to add a little water down here. Oh, I think I squoze too good. It's been squozing. Okay. So I'm just adding a tiny bit of water right down here. So I wanted to keep that lighter. It's probably just going to flow in there. You see the color change in there? That's cool if you can make it do that. But if you don't make it do that, it's going to be all right. Because basically we're going to use white ink on this bill. That's what I did with the other one anyway. Oh, that's prettier than my first one because I've had practice. It's nothing like a little practice. So what do we need down at the bottom? We need a little bit of color. You know, it'd be better if it was just more yellow and red. Let's see what I can just pick up a little something there. Oh, well, we'll go inside the mouth with this, but we don't want to touch the bill and have it run in here. Or you could wait and do it at a separate time. Oh, what if they do run together? It's not going to be a big deal. Yeah, I think that'll be a good start right there. You know what, if that does run in up there, That might even be better. Might even make a run back there. Oh, that's great color on that bill. I did way better this time. Okay. Now we're going to go back. By the way, I painted this foot in, and I got a little messy with it. He's got a bit of the Halloween look. The feet really kind of have a bit of a Halloween look to them anyway, actually. All right, so we're going to start making the little darker areas and some little bits of down, you know, edges to the down. See, like little spots like that along here. And you'll notice here, of course, we've got to paint negatively. So the yellow that's overlapping the gray is actually painted by making the gray. You know that. You know what I'm trying to say. Okay, so let's take some of that, and I may have to turn him a little bit this way and that to make him do what I want. I'm stirring the paint up again, and I'm kind of raking this off. Now, if you're not using this brush, you might not need to rake it off much. This one just holds so much paint. So let's do a little practice here. I think this is a good spot. I'm making tiny spots there. And then I'm pulling them in, and it's getting thicker back in here. And you don't want to go very far before you come in. And you know what? You wouldn't have to wash your brush out. You could be smarter than me, and you could use 2 brushes. You come in with a little bit of water there and soften the inner edges, but not the outer edges. And there you have fluff. Now, you don't have to cover all of this fuzz that you've got here. You want it underneath this. Okay. Because together, the 2 of them together is what makes it feel about right. And there are places where maybe you want to do a little less. Maybe I'll pull this back away from here, and maybe I'll make the down a little bit longer here. There are places where it's going to be shorter and places where it's going to be longer. You know, just like if you've got a dog or a cat, the hair on their face is really short. So if I do something like that, now that's kind of dark. So I've got to come in and immediately dampen the edges, and see how I'm pulling it. I'm pulling it in this way. Oh, that looks good. This is what I wanted. You got a lot of this to do. I'm going to demo some of it, but I'm not going to do it all on camera. Man, that beak looks really blue up there. Now I think it's too blue. Oh well. We'll work with that later. So, I'm going to work on this spot right here. I got it a little bit smaller on this duck. So I'm going to make some. Now I'm doing some of this fuzz a little bit longer on this particular part of the duck. And this is, I believe, where his little wing is tucked in there. This is his wing. And I'll go ahead and soften this. This is just the safest way. You could just fill it in dark. But I think this is nicer. And then I'm going to come in, I'm going to work from the other direction. And you might need to turn your duckling one way or the other to do this. I'm going to make some of these areas a little bit coarser. I'm running into water in there. So let's see what happens down here. And some areas are softer than other areas. So think I'll make this a little more downy down here. You know, sometimes you want to fade some of it out a little bit. And then in here I might actually fill in with a little more color. Oh, look, it's a little bit redder there. I picked up out of a little bit redder part of the mixture. And that's going to make just a subtle little color change. It's going to be prettier. Kind of like what I did with the bill, except I overdid it. But that's very fixable. Okay, and the feet look purple here right now, don't they? We're going to do lifting on these too later. Not getting there right now. So basically, you're going to spend quite a bit of time making these little places. You even need them in here. We're going to be more careful in here. But, in fact, I'm going to turn the duck so that I can make my hand have a little bit better control. You could also try pulling this way, because I think it's a little bit easier to get, you know what, I've got too much color on my brush. Let's go, because I don't want thick blobs up here. I want little bitty spiky hairs. And then see, I might pull some tiny ones way out. You know, sometimes when your brush doesn't have very much on it, or you've got a really nice point and things are going, you're able to get some fine hairs. Go ahead and make a few out here. We just don't want him to look like one of those, oh, those guys that has that mohawk that's all spiky on top. Yeah, we don't want him to look like that. This is a sweet baby duckling. Okay. Yeah, I think I'll blot that a little bit there. Okay. So this area, I want this area to be a little bit softer. I think I'm going to pre-wet. And I think I'm going to add some more. Now you see I've got a little bit of color on this brush. This is actually going to work here. Especially I might go around some of these edges. And I want y'all to notice that this duck is smiling. I can't fix a smile right now. We'll talk about the smile in a few minutes. Okay. So that's all we're doing is you could add some little fine spiky things. Like I said, at some stages your brush just seems to be right for this, and then other times it's not. So if it just happens to be right and you're going along and it's suddenly giving you a little fine thing, which is definitely not giving me right now, you might do a few fine ones, but don't make them all like little spiky hairs everywhere. I've got there. And you can always add water and give him some soft edges too if you want. So maybe I'll come along here and come back, wash my brush out, and soften some edges. There. You just get to do whatever you feel like. And okay, this area is going to be a little bit bluer because I picked up out of a little different spot here. See where that's separating? And I'm using that separation to maybe get a little bit more variety color-wise. But the thing is, it should be real subtle color changes. Fairly dark coming down here. And then if I want to soften some edges on this, I can. Maybe I'll just make some little wet strokes here, just barely damp strokes. So I pull out a little soft, fuzzy, light colored edges. Oh, that's pretty too. See, that works. I think while I'm down here and I've got a dry spot in his nostrils, I think I'll go ahead and darken the inside of his little nostril a bit because I'm fixing to not be able to see it. Now, what I want you to notice, and it's on the photo too, it's real. This duck is smiling. So I think in a way he is smiling in that, not like we do, but that's the way his muscles separate right there where his bill opens. And it gives him a little smile. Okay? See, this one doesn't look like he's smiling yet. So watch this. We're just going to come where that bill starts to separate there. And we're going to give him a little kind of triangle here. Look at the smile. And then we're going to soften the edges on it. And we'll probably have to build this multiple times because as he gets darker, he'll need more of it. Isn't that cute? I mean, he's the perfect Easter duck. He's even smiling. He's got a little dark, this thing coming down to the bill here, this dark marking. It takes off over here too and goes that way until it disappears. And then we've got a little bit of fluff over here. You got to be really careful over here. But you want this edge to show up. Well, that might be darker than I think I want. I'll just blot it for now. I think as this other part gets darker, that it's going to be right. But everything's relative, so right now it's not looking real good. Okay. Let's go ahead and get a little darker here. Oh, and there's a little bump up right there. I just think he's so cute. I'll tell you what, we'll go ahead. Well, we got this pencil line. We'll make a little bit of an eyebrow here. So what I want to do is I want to shade above the brow. Like that. And then I want to soften that edge immediately because this is very thin and light. It'll dry fast. So if you want to soften the edge, you need to do it rapidly. Well, I got my brush really dry for a change. Okay. Oh, okay. So what do we do next? Well, we got to do all of this stuff in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to work on that. Well, I'll work on a couple more spots on camera because we've got areas, see, that are lighter and softer. Looky there and there. See those areas that are lighter? So maybe we should do a little bit of that. This must be part of this. Well, that's way too dark, isn't it? Oh, that's awful. Well, let's just add water here. And we're going to just suck the life out of it here, and it'll go back to being okay, I think. And we'll pull it up this way. Again, I'm pulling the direction that I think the down is growing, but more than that, I'm trying to create a little feeling of contour. We have an opportunity to have some bit of contour lines in here. I'm also trying to break up this edge a little bit. I think it looks just a little bit too strong. Oh, well, you know why? Because all of this needs to be a little bit softer. Let's put a little color in over here too. We'll pull it into there. I've got a little bit of dry brush look going on there. I could leave that. That'll give me, again, a little bit more of a textured look. As long as I do it very with just very low contrast. Because if you do too much contrast, it will look wrong. But a little bit might work well. So here I'm just going to get a little bit stronger. Again, I'm mixing my color up, and I'm raking this brush off. Depends what kind of brush you're using, how much you need to rake. But like I said, I warned you, this brush, you got to rake it a lot. The less liquid your brush carries, the less you have to rake it. So if you got a little thin synthetic brush, you might not have to rake at all. I don't want to sound too negative about synthetic brushes. I mean, a lot of these are partially synthetic. There's good synthetic and there's the old synthetic. Some of the good ones are not a bad imitation. Some of them are pretty awful. Oh, this we really need. So I'm letting some of this clump together. See, I'm making 2 strokes. I don't know if you can see that. I guess I should do a big one on. Okay, here's what I'm doing. I'm doing 2 strokes. I'm doing 1 stroke and another stroke like that. See, and then I'm coming back and bleeding that off like that. So that's how these are happening. They're just so tiny that I don't think you can see much of them on camera. Oh, that looks downright reddish. Oh, I could use a little more red right up in here. Okay. I hope I turned that camera on. Yeah. Phew. See, this is time consuming. It's pretty tedious. If you love the ducky, you have to love the ducky. If you love the ducky, you can stand to do this. So I'm adding a little bit more there, and then I'm going to come in with a little bit of water here and soften this. Whoops. Yeah, this needs more color in here too. I'll let it be a little more reddish. Whoops. Get that together. We're gonna add a little bit more yellow in here too later. I seem to have bunged this piece up because it's being a little more absorbent in some places than I like. Okay. So you get the idea of that. I'm going to pretend that we've done it all because I'm just going to keep the video going right now. And we're going to come in and we're going to take our red and we're going to mix a little bit of our gray mixture into the red. Like that. And let's go ahead and start his mouth. Of course, this is a dry area. So we want a reddish brown, but it is, a reddish brown. It's pretty dark. Back up in here. Something like that. You could even put a little bit of an outline there. And then you're going to come in. I didn't pull it down as far as I could have because I'm coming in now and I'm just picking up the red. And it's going to go right here. Oh, it's too dark. Okay, let's put a little water in here. That'll work. So there's a little bit of the inside of his mouth. I guarantee you that when this is dry, it's not going to be enough. But that's a nice start. Oh, he's beginning to look duck-like, isn't he? Well, on my case, I'm going to add a little tiny bit. See that? A little tiny bit of red up here because my blue is just too blue. Oh, I don't want to kill all the blue. I just want to take it down a notch. And then I need to soften the edge of what I'm doing. You know, I see some stuff here that's real uneven looking. I may have, sometimes if you take this paper, and especially where the texture is, you drag it around in and out of your carrier or something, that the little high parts get scuffed, and then that makes them more absorbent where they're scuffed, and so you get textures that maybe you didn't want. Okay, and I see some texture that I didn't want right there, and that makes me very unhappy. Okay, now the eye actually, you know, has a pupil. If you paint a hard-edged pupil, it will not look right. This has got to be a soft one. So let's take our color, and it helps if you've got a dried spot here where it's pretty dark. Well, I don't really have a dried spot. You know, just you gotta use, you gotta march with the army you got, right? Is that how they say it? Okay. I'm gonna add dark all in up here. And there's gonna be a shadow under that lid. Well, that looks weird. But here's what we do. We just come in and we soften that and we pull it down some. And it starts looking like a rounded eyeball. It may need more added to it when it dries, especially since my mixture was on the dry side. Okay. I better check my time on this.